How's it going, everyone? Thralls Metal here. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I got another album review for you. This week, possibly one of the most anticipated releases of this month, at least for me, was the new album by Reich with their new one, Awakening. Now, this is their first album since 1993's Heal. These guys formed in 1985 in Phoenix, Arizona. They had a pretty decent run as a thrash metal band with their first two albums, Ignorance and the Surf Nicaragua EP, and then slowly started to transition more into groove metal in their later years. Broke up in 2000, and then reformed as recently as 2006. Now, for a time, they had Dave McClain of Machine Head on drums, and then obviously he left to go join Machine Head. Since Machine Head is going through a number of changes, Dave McClain has rejoined Sacred Reich, so this is his first album with them since 1993's Heal as well. So, was this the return to their thrash metal roots, or more of the groove metal, or a little something different? Well, let's get into it. It opens up the title track, Awakening, which was the first single that Metal Blade dropped on their YouTube channel that I checked out. And it's a pretty solid song. It's pretty much driven by kind of a fast breakdown riff. And all in all, it's pretty good. Maybe a little too oversimplified, but it's catchy, and it's a strong opener. Closes with a really, really nice slowed down breakdown, and it's catchy. It sticks with you. Now it goes into Divide and Conquer, which I think is possibly the strongest song on here. It's a straight up thrashy barn burner that reminds me of their first two albums, which I fucking love. You know, I think the chorus is particularly strong on this, a little repetitive, but it shows off a little bit more of Phil Rind's vocal range, which he does a great job on this album across the board. Dave McClain's killing it on drums. Awesome lead work on this one. This is a solid fucking barn burner. This is exactly what I was hoping for in terms of a comeback from these guys. Then we move into Salvation, which is a little bit more towards their groove metal side. This kind of reminds me of more stuff you'd hear on Independent or Heal. Nice, straightforward, kind of double time groove to it. Chuggy, fun. Not sure what the lyrics are getting to. It starts off sounding like it's going to be a kind of a party song about just, you know, thrashing, raging, but moves on to some like super positive sort of stuff like self-affirmation. I don't know. Either way, song's pretty solid. It's a good one. Not nearly as good as Divide and Conquer, but I like the way this has been paced, so you don't get songs that run into each other as much. Then we get into Manifest Reality, which I think is another solid song on here. This was the second single they released, and this is straight up thrash metal. Once again, it has a Metallica-like kind of intro bit, and then it kind of almost moves in that same drum beat that kicks off Slayer's Hell Awaits, which I love that, and that's pretty much a mosh-ready fucking stomp right there. From there, it transitions to a kick-ass thrash gallop. Really love how fast and chuggy this one is. This is straight-up thrash metal with some cool punk elements. I really like the vocal cadence on this. It's catchy, it's memorable. The lead work on it is exceptional, too. I really like how it's both shreddy and fiercely melodic at the same time. It's a good fucking balance. One of the best songs on here. Then we start getting a little bit more experimental. Like Killing Machine kind of goes back to the groove metal roots, and it's a pretty decent song. But then we get to Death Valley, which is straight up Southern rock. I'll be honest, it is straight up Southern rock. Like conjuring images of Molly Hatchet covers, there's a cowbell. It feels more akin to a band like Texas Hippie Coalition than it does to at least the Sacred Reich I had in mind. So this was an unexpected turn, and honestly, I get throwing in variety and you don't want to stay stale and stagnant in the same area, but this feels like variety for the sake of variety, which isn't the right reason there, and it just feels forced. It doesn't come off as a particularly catchy song in my mind. I think there are some yarled vocals that I really didn't get into, and it just doesn't fit. Like, it kind of derails the album a little bit in my mind. It's really hard to pick it up after that. You get a nice little short sort of punky thrashy song, which is good, but it just feels like filler. It's a very short track. And then you get the Massive Closer, Something to Believe, which wants to be, you know, a huge anthemic giant song that just, you know, revs you up, pumps you full of emotion, but it kind of feels really dated. Like something that would have been on the radio maybe, you know, late 80s, early 90s, and it just feels kind of kitschy, like a kind of a attempt at maybe a radio single, but a radio single then, not now. So it's kind of a throwback, and the lyrics are kind of cheesy on that one. Now, my main issue with this mainly is how it was promoted. The first two tracks that they put out, at least on YouTube and for everyone to check out, were very thrash-centric, very thrash-forward, and it made you feel as though this was the direction this album would be in, and then you get it, and it's not that, really. Like, it has thrash tracks on it, and they're fucking good, but you also get these other ones that are a little bit more experimental, and maybe back to their groove metal days. So while I appreciate trying to blend both eras of their career, when they were both thrash and then a groove metal band, the weird, almost radio single song at the end and Death Valley just really don't fit. And it just kind of throws you off. It really pumps the brakes on a lot of energy on here, at least I feel. This album is also really short. It only has 8 tracks, and it only clocks about 31 minutes, so there isn't a huge amount of material for this long wait that we've had between Sacred Reich albums. So this doesn't necessarily feel very complete for me. This feels like, well, they just kind of rushed it out when they probably should have taken more time. There should have been more tracks on it. I think they're at their best when they're at their thrashier moments, because those songs have a lot more impact, a lot more emotion behind them, and they have just a good thrashy punch to them, and they've always excelled in that department. So overall, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I think it's a decent album. Maybe a little bit less experimentation. I think this should have been the one where they established themselves as a thrash band once again and just played to their strengths and kind of get that old school feel again. Again, I'm all for experimentation, but sometimes you miss. And there are some songs in here that are definitely some misses. But check it out, form your own opinions. You know, definitely listen to it. So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We do reviews and shit all the time. Catch you later.